a woman, a prophecy, and an impossible battle. Could one woman really lead an army to defeat 900 iron chariots? This is the story of Deborah, the prophetess who changed Israel's destiny. For many years, the land of Israel lived in fear. The people had turned away from God, and their enemies grew stronger. Villages once filled with laughter now stood quiet and tense. Families whispered in their homes, always watching the road, because danger could come at any moment. Far to the north ruled a powerful king named Jabin, who controlled the region with an iron grip. From his great city of Hazor, he controlled the region with an iron grip. His armies marched wherever he commanded, and no one dared to stand against him. But the true terror of Jabin's army was his commander, a ruthless warrior named Sisera. Sisera commanded 900 iron chariots, huge war machines that crushed anything in their path. Against such power, Israel felt helpless. Roads became empty. Travelers avoided the highways. Farmers hid their harvests in fear of soldiers passing through. The land that once knew peace now lived under constant oppression and fear. Finally, the people cried out to God. In villages and fields, men and women lifted their voices in prayer. "Lord, save us." And God heard them. At that time, there was a woman in Israel who heard the voice of God. Her name was Deborah. She was not a queen. She was not a warrior. But she was a prophet and a judge. Every day she sat beneath a famous palm tree between Ramah and Bethel, seeking wisdom from the Lord. The place became known as the Palm of Deborah. Deborah was not just a prophet. She was also a judge in Israel. People traveled long distances to bring their problems to her. Under the shade of that palm tree, she helped settle disputes and guide the people with wisdom. Day after day, crowds gathered. Farmers, traders, families, all seeking justice and direction. And Deborah listened to them all. But Deborah was more than wise. She was courageous. Because one day, God gave her a message that would change Israel's future. Deborah sent a messenger across the hills to summon a warrior named Barak. Barak was a respected leader from the tribe of Naphtali. When the message reached him, he came quickly. Standing beneath the palm tree, Deborah spoke the word of the Lord. "The God of Israel commands you," she said. "Gather 10,000 men. Lead them to Mount Tabor." Barak listened carefully, but he knew the strength of Sisera's army. 900 iron chariots, against farmers and shepherds. The battle seemed impossible. "I will go," he said, "but only if you go with me." Deborah nodded calmly. "I will go with you," she said, "but the honor of victory will belong to a woman." Barak obeyed the command. He began preparing for battle. Armor was gathered. Swords were sharpened. Messengers ran through the tribes of Israel. Warriors answered the call. Soon from every direction, warriors arrived. 10,000 men gathered at Mount Tabor. Farmers became soldiers. Shepherds picked up swords. Young men stood beside seasoned fighters. At the front of them all stood Deborah and Barak. Meanwhile, Sisera prepared his forces. His war camp was filled with soldiers. Chariots lined the ground like rows of iron giants, confident and ready for battle. The iron chariots were terrifying. Heavy wheels of metal. Powerful horses trained for war. They had crushed many enemies before. When Sisera heard that Israel had gathered on Mount Tabor, he moved his army toward the valley. The battlefield was set. That night, Israel's soldiers sat quietly around their campfires. Some whispered prayers. Others stared into the flames, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Deborah walked among the warriors, encouraging them, reminding them that God had not abandoned them. Hope slowly replaced fear. At dawn Deborah spoke to Barak. "Go," she said. "This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands." Barak lifted his sword and charged down Mount Tabor. 10,000 men followed him, their battle cry echoing across the valley. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Thunder rolled across the hills. Rain began to fall. The dry ground turned into thick mud. The powerful chariots of Sisera became trapped. Wheels stuck. Horses panicked. The army that once seemed unstoppable was thrown into chaos. God himself had entered the battle. Chariots crashed into each other. Soldiers struggled in the mud. The battlefield turned into confusion. Sisera realized the battle was lost. Fear filled his face. For the first time, the mighty commander was running. Israel's army pushed forward. Enemy soldiers fled in every direction. The impossible victory was becoming reality. Sisera abandoned his chariot and ran across the land, desperate to escape. But his story was not finished. At last, he reached Jael's tent. Jael welcomed Sisera inside her tent. "Come in, my lord," she said gently. "You are safe here." Exhausted from battle, Sisera collapsed and fell asleep, thinking he had escaped. But Jael knew something important. God had already decided the end of this story. Quietly, she took a tent peg and a hammer. Then slowly, she approached the sleeping commander. And in a single decisive moment, Sisera's reign of terror ended, just as Deborah had foretold. Later, Barak arrived searching for Sisera. Jael stepped outside the tent. "Come," she said. "I will show you the man you are looking for." And there he was, the mighty commander who once terrified Israel, now defeated. That day God gave Israel victory, and the land finally knew peace again. Because when God fights for his people, even the impossible becomes possible. After the victory, Deborah and Barak sang a song of praise to God, a song recorded forever in the book of Judges, a song that reminded Israel of one powerful truth. Victory does not belong to the strongest army. Victory belongs to God. The land finally knew peace again. Fear faded. Hope returned. And the story of Deborah reminds us of something powerful. God does not always choose kings or warriors. Sometimes, he chooses unexpected leaders. Leaders with courage, faith, and trust in him. And through them, history changes. If you enjoyed this biblical story and want to hear more powerful stories from the Bible, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because the next story might inspire your faith even more.